At first glance, fishing doesn't look like much. No constant action, no fast rewards, no obvious stimulation. Just waiting, watching, repeating the same quiet motion again and again. And yet, there are people who genuinely enjoy it, not as a pastime they tolerate, but as something they're drawn to. And that raises an interesting question. In a world built on speed, why would someone choose slowness and actually like it? There's a certain kind of person who doesn't feel bored by stillness. While others need constant input, noise, movement, distraction, these individuals can sit in near silence and remain mentally engaged. Fishing, for them, is not empty time. It's structured patience. And psychologically, that reveals something deeper about how they regulate attention, handle uncertainty, and interact with their environment. At its core, fishing is built on delayed reward. There is no guarantee of outcome, no fixed timeline for success. You might catch something in minutes, or not at all. For most people, this lack of immediate feedback creates frustration. But for those who enjoy fishing, it does the opposite. It creates space. They are comfortable investing time without immediate return. This reflects a higher tolerance for delayed gratification, an ability to stay engaged without needing constant reinforcement. This trait extends beyond the activity itself. People who are drawn to fishing often show stronger persistence in other areas of life. They are less likely to abandon a process just because results are not immediate. They understand, intuitively, that not all outcomes can be rushed. This patience is not passive, it is active. It involves staying present, adjusting strategy, and continuing effort without visible progress. Another important psychological strength is attentional stability. Fishing requires a unique kind of focus. It is not intense, high-alert concentration. It is a sustained, low-level awareness. The individual must remain attentive to subtle changes, the movement of the line, shifts in the water, environmental cues, without becoming mentally exhausted. This type of attention is difficult to maintain in a world that constantly rewards rapid switching between stimuli. People who enjoy fishing tend to be more comfortable with this slower, steadier form of focus. There is also a strong connection to emotional regulation. Fishing environments are typically quiet, natural, and minimally stimulating. This allows the nervous system to settle. For individuals who are frequently exposed to high levels of stimulation, whether through work, technology, or social environments, this contrast becomes valuable. Fishing acts as a form of regulation, bringing the mind back to a more stable baseline. It is not just relaxing, it is recalibrating. Interestingly, people who enjoy fishing are often more comfortable with uncertainty. The outcome is never fully predictable. Weather conditions, water movement, fish behavior, many variables are outside of control. Instead of resisting this uncertainty, they work within it. They adapt, observe, and adjust. This creates a mindset that is less rigid. Control is not forced, it is negotiated. Over time, this builds resilience. They become less reactive to unpredictability because they are used to operating within it. Another key strength is observational awareness. Fishing requires attention to detail, small, often overlooked changes in the environment. This sharpens perception. Individuals learn to notice patterns, interpret subtle signals, and respond accordingly. This skill can extend into other areas of life, improving decision-making and situational awareness. They are less likely to rely solely on obvious information. They look for underlying patterns. There is also a deeper psychological element related to solitude. Fishing is often done alone or in quiet company. People who enjoy it tend to be comfortable with their own presence. They do not need constant interaction to feel engaged. This does not mean they are antisocial. It means they have a stable internal environment. Being alone does not create discomfort because their attention is not dependent on external input. This comfort with solitude is closely tied to introspection. Long periods of quiet activity create space for thought. Without constant distraction, the mind naturally begins to process. Ideas, reflections, and unresolved thoughts surface. For individuals who are comfortable with this process, fishing becomes more than an activity. It becomes a mental reset. They are not just waiting for fish, they are allowing their mind to settle and reorganize. Another important trait is low reactivity. Fishing does not reward impulsive behavior. Quick, unnecessary movements can disrupt the process. Success often depends on restraint, knowing when to act and when to remain still. People who enjoy fishing tend to develop this restraint. They are less driven by immediate impulses and more guided by timing and awareness. This creates a calmer behavioral pattern overall. There is also a connection to intrinsic motivation. Fishing does not always produce external rewards. There are days with no catch, no visible success. Yet people return to it. This suggests that the motivation is not purely outcome-based. The process itself is rewarding. This is a key psychological strength, the ability to engage in something for its own sake, without needing constant validation or results. From a cognitive perspective, fishing supports mental recovery. Modern environments demand continuous attention switching, which increases cognitive fatigue. Fishing does the opposite. It reduces input, slows down processing, and allows attention to stabilize. This can improve overall cognitive function by giving the brain time to reset. People who are naturally drawn to this environment may be more aware of their need for mental recovery, even if they do not consciously identify it. There is also a subtle relationship with control. Fishing exists in a space between action and acceptance. The individual can prepare, choose location, adjust technique, but cannot control the outcome. This balance teaches a different kind of control. Not absolute control, but influence. Understanding the difference between what can and cannot be controlled is a key psychological skill. It reduces frustration and increases adaptability. Another trait that often appears is consistency. Fishing is repetitive by nature. The same actions are performed over and over, often without immediate feedback. People who enjoy this process are more comfortable with repetition. They do not require constant variation to stay engaged. This ability to remain consistent, even when the activity is simple, translates into other areas of life, especially those that require long-term effort. There is also a grounding effect. Being in natural environments, water, open space, minimal noise, reduces cognitive overload. It brings attention back to immediate surroundings. This grounding is not forced. It happens naturally through the environment. Individuals who prefer fishing may be more sensitive to the benefits of this state. They recognize, consciously or not, that their mind functions differently in these conditions. Socially, fishing represents a different mode of interaction. When done with others, it often involves quiet companionship rather than constant conversation. This creates a low-pressure social environment. People who prefer this type of interaction tend to value presence over performance. They do not need continuous dialogue to feel connected. This reflects a more stable and less demanding social style. However, this preference can be misunderstood. In a culture that often equates activity with productivity, fishing can appear passive or unproductive. But this interpretation overlooks the internal processes taking place. The value is not always visible. It exists in attention, regulation, and mental clarity, things that are not easily measured but have significant impact. There is also a long-term psychological benefit. Activities that combine patience, observation, and low stimulation help maintain cognitive balance. They counteract the effects of constant digital input and fast-paced environments. People who engage in fishing regularly may develop a more stable baseline of attention and emotional regulation over time. Ultimately, people who enjoy fishing are not simply choosing a hobby. They are choosing a pace, a way of engaging with time that does not demand constant output, a way of focusing that does not rely on constant stimulation, and a way of being present without needing something to happen every second. Because for them, the value is not just in what they catch. It is in what remains still long enough to be noticed.